Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Conversations with Dr. Cybersecurity. And today I have a very special guest, a fellow teacher, professor, and scholar, Dr. Nader Nassar.
Hello, Dr. Hasib. Thank you for hosting me in your show. It's a great opportunity.
Great, introduce yourself and let people know about you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So my name is Nader Nassar, and I am a senior technical staff member at IBM. I've been with IBM for a really long time, and also I'm, an adjunct professor at NYU and at Pace University. NYU, I teach, software development, and at Pace, I teach focus mainly on cybersecurity. So we started our cybersecurity program, a master degree that is, and very excited with that program, and happy to be part of it.
New York is a very good program. I remember that New York was the runner-up or something in one of the years that my program won the award.
Well, New York is full of activities. There is nothing
Yeah,
wrong with New
great.
York.
Excellent. I think I met your chair. He's pretty famous, isn't he?
I think there are. It depends which year. I think we have a new one right now,
Okay.
Dr.
Okay.
Hill. He's the
Okay.
chairman of Seidenberg School of Engineering and Computer Science.
Okay. Great. So what
Yeah.
topics do you want to talk about? That's a wonderful introduction. Thank you very much. I know that you are probably one of the people that has actually read my book and support it.
Absolutely, and I recommend many people to, I mean, everybody, of course, to read about it because it addresses, everybody pretty much, whether you are a student or whether you are a professional. But I have actually an interesting topic for you, Dr. Hasib,
Great.
and based on your background in academia, enterprise, and everything. Now I get this not tricky question, but interesting question. Professor, we are going. Would you recommend in cybersecurity, for example, or would you like me to take a certificate, become a CISSP or CH or one of those, three, four letter names certificate?
Mhm, 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 mhm.
Then they are waiting for the answer, right? Yeah or no,
Yeah.
or go here, go there. So I'm really interested to hear your thoughts about, should I go for a master degree academia or should I go for a certificate, and how that impacts my leadership path.
Excellent question. This is an excellent question, and I'm glad as a fellow professor you asked that and you want to give the right answer. The answer that I give people is that because the field is so vast, number one is I don't recommend anybody pursue a certification or a degree or anything. They honestly speaking, if they don't want to read cybersecurity leadership, that book, as you just said, everybody should read it. So what does that give you? It gives you a broad understanding of the field itself. So you know the whole model now, right? You know the people, you know the policy, you have the technology, you have the governance, you have the leadership, you have the risk management, you have all of those things and the perpetual innovation aspects. So the key thing is that they need to figure out which aspect of the model they want to pursue. You see? I mean, and what is their previous background? And then do they want to do it in a particular vertical? So these are very, very fundamental questions that they have to answer before they even pursue anything and spend big money, right?
That that's a
Because
beautiful answer. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
think about it, because if you go to the wrong program, because as you know, having if you're teaching, I think secure coding or something like that, that aspect of cybersecurity, that is the aspect that you are dealing with, right?
Right.
Okay, well, somebody else it may not be appropriate for that person, but somebody who's doing coding, for them you are vital, right? I mean, that is an aspect of cybersecurity, but it is not the field by itself, right? And part of the reason I think that you are going to be successful, now the leadership. Well, for the leadership, if you really want to be an executive in the field, then you have to pursue a master. But then, what masters? Are you interested in the digital forensics aspect? Are you interested in the crime aspect? I mean, what are you interested in? You see, the key thing is, and what plays to your strengths, your previous background. And I think the vertical is important because are you going to do this in healthcare? Are you going to do this in education? Because that is also important because there are certain degrees that may be more appropriate for a particular vertical, right?
Exactly, exactly. So I always, so that's actually a beautiful answer, and I usually say that think about it as if you go into mid school, for example,
Beautiful
or
analogy.
before
Yes.
you go into mid school, right? Can you just say I'm going to take a certificate in surgery and become a surgeon, or a certificate in pediatric and become a pediatrician? Of course not. You have to go through medical school. You have to go through the residency, the rounds, and all of that. Then you will be like, you know what? Pathology or cardiology, whatever that. This is my field. I am. This is my area. This is what I wanted to learn more. That's where you learn, study more, take a diploma, and become cardiologist or psychologist or whatever the case is. Cybersecurity is no difference, right? You take your master's
Absolutely
degree.
beautiful analogy. That is the analogy I also use. Or like science. Okay, I'm not going to be able to like do science, right? I have to figure out, is it biology? Is it mathematics? Is it what aspect of science do I want to get into? Is it astronomy?
Exactly,
You right?
exactly, exactly. You need the exposure to everything, right? Then eventually you will start kind of diving deep. And the certificate eventually will get you that depth. So the masters will give you the breadth, and the certificate will give you the depth. You need both. You can't go one without the other.
Right. And then for the master's degree, the way I have always explained it, and because you have earned a doctoral degree, you will get this. A lot of people don't really understand that as you're going through the master's degree, your brain is getting elevated to a different level of thinking, right? The critical thinking, the analysis, the
Absolutely.
interdisciplinary thing, right? And then when you go into the doctoral program, even narrower, now you're contributing new knowledge. Didn't you almost feel like your brain clicked differently once you finished that doctoral work and all that? And so that is the message we need to tell people. If you want to be an executive, yes, you do need to go through a proper master's degree, not a master's degree program where all they're doing is feeding you more technology and none of the presentation skills, none of the people skills, none of the leadership skills. If you don't have any, none of the policy stuff, if you don't have that, you're not going to be a very successful leader. If all they're doing is making you do penetration testing and things like that, or encryption and a whole bunch of more technology, that's not the right master's program. So people have to delve into what are you going into.
Uh, totally agree. And actually, I like your approach with the master program. And I know you have revamped one of the master programs in within your career.
Mhm.
And I, when I was looking through that, and I completely agree. Master degree is not an enhanced bachelor's degree. It,
Exactly.
it's a second level. It's the second level of thinking, complexity, problem solving. That's actually when you become a leader, or at least you
Yes.
start your leadership path in professional career.
Yes. So when I was leading the graduate program, this is the thing that I used to teach my students. See, even though I was chair, I was also advising these students, and I was telling them right up front because they were telling me, Dr. Hasib, we have so much writing to do. Why do we have to do so much presentation? All these things, right? And I would coach them. I would, I would coach them because I knew these are the students with passion, right?
Right.
So I don't want to lose them, but I also don't want to give them nonsensical answers, right? Just do it. I would then tell them, I said, look, what these exercises are doing for you is elevating your brain to a different level. It feels hard
Exactly.
because your brain is actually changing and working, right?
Exactly.
If it
Exactly.
wasn't hard, your brain would not be challenged and you would not rise to that next level. So they understood. I said, question this after you graduate. If after you graduate, you still feel that I have not served you well, then you come talk to me. But right now, go through this because trust me, I have been in this field for more than 30 years. I have
Sure.
sincerely developed a program that will set you up for success. So right now, don't question the program. Just focus on the solution and graduating and do it. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. Some of the students that graduated afterwards, I would meet them and I would tell them, okay, now that you've graduated, how do you feel?
Exactly. I
They were
always
like, Dr. Hasib, I thank you very much for giving me that counseling when I first joined because I was so frustrated and you weren't just managing me. You just basically told me that if you don't go through this, it's like developing the muscles, right? You
exactly.
exercise the first time, what happens? pain all over, right?
Absolutely. I always tell them, suffer now and thank me later. We'll keep the thanks for later after you graduate, you know? So
Yeah.
you actually affirm that point, and that's definitely a very, very good point.
And this is the thing we need to also teach all our professors to be making sure that we counsel the students that way. Because if professors are not counseling properly, then these students are going to not find their way. And I believe it's a moral obligation for all professors to give students the right message about this.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. So I have another, I know we might be short in time, but
No,
I
no,
have
we're
another
great.
interesting.
Please do.
So a lot of students, especially those who are graduating, right? Whether they are
Mhm,
seniors in their undergrad or they graduate with a master's degree, the next big question comes in as, professor,
mhm,
small fish in a big pond, or
mhm,
a big fish in a small pond, right?
mhm,
So
mhm,
should I get a job in a small company where I have a lead role, and I do a lot of things, or should I get a job in a big company and what I do a certain thing, one thing, and I just focus on it, I learn it, then I build my career there. So again, sometimes it's hard for me to answer that question because I've been in IBM for 22 years. As a matter of fact, yesterday was my 22nd anniversary with an IBM.
congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. So for I am interested to hear your thoughts here, especially for the younger generation, the one who are graduating, um, seniors or master degree graduating with their degree.
This is why I write books. You see, I knew that this is a big struggle a lot of people are having. And as I was coaching all my students on this very kind of a question,
Yeah,
I saw that they don't, most people don't understand the concept of building a personal brand and finding yourself out. You see, if you don't do soul searching into who you are and what is your
yeah,
personal mission in life, you see, I believe everybody needs to figure out for themselves what is their personal mission in life. You have been given this amazing thing called life. Well, what are you going to do with it? Right? And
true.
you are
Yeah,
unique. You are unique. There's nobody else like you. So, what is it about you? And what aspects of you will be best utilized in what kind of a job? That's what you got to figure out. You see?
that that's a beautiful answer also, because so that type of question, there is no correct answer. It all depends on the individual motivation, the individual drive and strive, and how far they wanted to go, and everybody's path and route in life is different. It all
Yes.
starts from within, like what exactly you wanted to achieve, or
Yes.
or also where is your strength? Is your strength to juggle so many balls in the air and make it balanced?
Mhm.
God bless, then that's your way. If your
Yeah.
goal is to be very focused on one thing, then you grow from there. That also could be a
Yeah.
path.
And that is what my new book, the thing about personal branding. So, personal branding was actually part of my curriculum. So, the master's program that I designed, it actually had the
Interesting.
very first course is I we help the students figure out that you will need to develop a personal brand, because if you don't, you will not succeed. We made them even do a LinkedIn profile and all that. Okay, so these are all important things, and then I figured out that during this pandemic people are losing jobs, but they don't know how to create income sources even though they have many talents. All right, so these are things that I've helped people do in this. I myself right now, I'm doing voice acting. All right. Well, think about this
Interesting.
business. Nobody should be working for a single employer. So they need to think differently like that. You yourself are not working for a single employer, mainly because everybody needs to manage career risks, right? If you put all your eggs
That's
in,
absolutely
yeah, nobody should. I
that's,
have never done that
that's
in my entire life. From
and,
10th
and you know
grade,
what I mean.
from
Yeah,
10th
no, no,
grade
please.
onwards, I've had multiple sources of income.
That's amazing. And you know what? The more I think about it, reflecting on myself, I
Hmm.
feel like every employer give you a different challenge
Yes,
and polish you in a different way.
yes.
It's the new way of thinking now.
Yes, yes. You have to take control of your brand because right now
That's
there is no guarantee. I mean, you could be laid off just like that because you got too many executives that do not understand modern business, and they're basically ruining organizations and companies. I mean, it's pretty crazy. But Dr. Nassar, it was absolutely wonderful talking with you. We can network later on more, but I'm going to now bring in my next guest, William Fotseu.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hasib. It's a privilege for me to be on stage this evening. And yeah, I look forward to a fruitful discussion with you.
Great. Well, introduce yourself, tell the world who you are, and a little bit about you.
Okay, so my name is William Futzer, and my backgrounds are rather in physics and renewable energy engineering.
Mhm.
And I do have more than 10 years of experience working in remote areas, providing access to people
Mhm.
with energy, not only for lighting, but as well for cooking and also transforming some goods. Yeah.
Great.
But since April 2020, which is last year,
Mhm.
I'm actually investigating a new discipline, which is the cybersecurity.
Mm.
And as a matter of fact, I'm currently a cybersecurity analyst student at Willis College
Mm.
here in Canada. And so far, I was actually able to be certified as a specialist IT operations and also secure infrastructures.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm very, like I was saying, honored to be on stage this evening
Mhm.
uh, on the conversation with Dr. Cybersecurity. And I really want to thank you for this opportunity, Dr.
No, this
Hasib.
is wonderful. So let's go into the topics or questions that you have. This is absolute delight. This is I have made myself available to anybody and everybody in my network for 15 minutes like this to come on a conversation. So it is my pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, well, about the questions, I actually have two questions.
Okay.
The first one is all about actually harvesting your knowledge when it comes to cybersecurity concepts.
Mhm.
And the second one is more towards seeking your advice for newbies who are actually entering the field of cybersecurity. And those advice is towards also their career development. Yeah.
Mhm.
So the first question is, when you look at cybersecurity, let's say on my left hand, we have this CIA triad,
Mhm.
which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability
Mhm.
model,
Mhm.
which is actually one of the basic model that most organizations are actually using nowadays. But on the other hand, allow me to call this another model, the triple PI, which is
Mhm.
people powered perpetual innovation. Actually, you are having the paternity of that model. Yeah, for a better understanding of cybersecurity, how will you actually relate the two models? Yeah.
Well, this is I don't know if you read my book Cybersecurity Leadership. Over there I provide the model. So there were some things that I provided to the model. One was making sure people understand that cybersecurity requires perpetual innovation. All right. If you believe that perpetual innovation is required, who does the innovation? It's human beings, people. That's why I have always embraced people. The human brain is the most powerful source of innovation possible. So I'm glad that you at least read my work about the people powered perpetual innovation concept and a very simple way to explain cybersecurity that way. Yes. So because of that, and because you have to continuously learn, then it is important to recognize that you always have to learn. It doesn't matter how good you are or what you're doing, because if you just focus yourself on the technology, all right, who's going to pick the technology? People, right? Because
People definitely.
if you don't have the right people or the trained people, and that's what's happening. Billions of dollars are being wasted on wrong technology right now, today. Okay? Because the wrong people are picking it. Second, after you pick the technology and you implement the technology, who is going to configure the technology and operate it?
See
Once
people.
again, it's got to be people. So if you put the technology in its default configuration or however the vendor and you don't know anybody, you don't know, it's like you have a car, you've just bought the beautiful car, but you don't know how to drive it. That's insanity, right?
Yeah.
So these are the things that you have to understand, that why people are important. Then who's going to train the other people to use it? Because cybersecurity isn't a technology field, it's a business field. It's about business enablement through digital strategy. All right, so everybody has legitimate access. I've got to make sure that they know how to use the technology properly. I used to spend more time training people on everything that I was implementing, because otherwise the breaches and the a lot of breaches don't happen because of malicious act. It happens because of mistakes and on or something innocent somebody tried to do, and it just messed up, blew up in your face, right? So this is why training is so important. That's why it's people. And the moment you start training people, what happens? The productivity and innovation in your company automatically grows, because when you train people on technology, they're not just going to do cybersecurity. They want to do a better job at their job. That's the main reason they do the technology. So they're going to be more innovative. They're going to be more hungry. They're going to do better and better and better. Look at what we are doing with technology in just this video conferencing thing, right? We're
Exactly.
constantly innovating, doing a little bit of better sound with a better microphone, better speakers. That's what cybersecurity is also, fine tuning. So micro innovation. The person who's doing the job will usually know how to do that job better through micro innovation. And that's a culture that we must implement in the entire organization. So when you implement cybersecurity as a culture, what you're really implementing is a micro innovation culture. That's the way I practiced cybersecurity for 30 plus years. And every company that I was CIO in or I transformed, guess what happened to those companies? Massive profits, massive innovation. Even
Okay.
the innovation that I did in a master's program in cybersecurity, I inherited a program that was bringing in $30 million. By the time I left, that program grew to $117 million annual revenue. As soon
Almost
as I
4 times.
left, the very next year, the program tanked, because it's all about leadership. It's all about execution. You see, it doesn't matter what kind of a technology you have. It's all about how you're using the technology. That is the key.
Yeah, it clearly shows that on top of the CIA triad, we definitely need to put leadership on top. Yeah.
100%.
Mm, yeah. Thank you so much for that enlightenment. Yeah. My second question
Hmm.
is uh, somehow related to the second questions of Dr. Nader.
Sure.
Yeah. Nowadays, we do have, I mean, it's obvious that cybersecurity is booming.
Hmm.
The topic is becoming a major concern
Hmm.
and you can actually see it and feel it at a different level of a society.
Hmm.
So I was wondering, based on your vast experience,
Hmm.
wisdom, and vision,
Hmm.
what would be actually the advice that you will give to the newbies who are actually entering the field of cybersecurity and who want to actually stand out? What
Build a
would be
brand.
your
Build a
advice?
brand. Those are again a beautiful question, but that is why I work so hard to do these books, and these are the two books that I keep telling people, and I've made it so accessible. All right. Like the ebook is $10. Okay. And I also did both books in audio versions also, because I want to make sure that nobody ever uses the excuse that, oh, I don't have the money or it's too expensive and all that, right? Because if you're not willing to invest $10 on an ebook that has hyperlinks to all kinds of videos and other additional knowledge and everything, then you're not doing justice to yourself. So things are, and you're spending sometimes $30,000-$40,000 a year on some program, but you won't buy the right book that is absolutely going to change your whole life. That's what is important. That's why the second book, the Bring Inner Greatness Out, we're doing a conference on that on February 12th. You should definitely attend it. A lot of the work that I do is for free. So there's a lot of personal branding videos out on my YouTube channel. You should go through some of that. In Toastmasters, I gave many speeches on personal branding and why that is so important. All right? Because the only way you're going to survive is by taking control of your career risk. As I was telling Dr. Nassar, that I never worked for a single employer, never in my entire life, right? I always had multiple people that I was selling multiple services to, because I have to manage my risk. They're not going to guarantee my job. In every job I was, they could just fire me just like that, right? And they did, because we got some people that really have no idea about how to run companies. So here I was bringing $117 million, but they didn't look at everybody. Guess what they did? The entire university laid off every faculty member, every program chair, and then decided they're going to hire a few people back. So guess what? In one fell swoop, they destroyed the whole university and every program. And I was one of the ones. And then they decided, oh, we're going to have all these layers of rehiring, and who knows. So I wasn't rehired in the first round. So guess what I did? I said,
Tell
if
us.
you guys really think that I'm not good enough to be rehired in the first round, and you got people with master's degrees beating me out for a job after I'm the one that brought in awards, you got to be kidding me. And then I saw the people who were going to be my bosses. I said, there's no way I'm going to work for a person with a PhD in English who's going to tell me how to run a cybersecurity program. That's just not going to happen. And that's what I saw. So all the big jobs were given to these people that were totally unqualified. The dean of cybersecurity had a PhD in English. So I'm saying, I'm going to work for a dean of cybersecurity with a PhD in English who has no job experience. Are you kidding me? And the person
Yeah.
was already trying to explain to me cybersecurity.
Wow. Okay. So that's the
So
problem
I
when.
withdrew my applications in the second round. And I said, I will take the layoff. I don't want the job. I don't want to work for unqualified people. And the reason I could do that is because my career risks were always managed. And that's what everybody needs to have. They need to have a personal brand, because, see, I was the one bringing in thousands of students. The students weren't coming because of the university name or the program or anything. I was the one that was giving credibility to the program, because, see, you got to have the right faculty with a voice, knowledge, and the ability to explain. I was the first
Exactly.
person that ever brought in any awards. The programs that I led was 10 years old at the time I joined. I brought in the award of best cybersecurity higher education program in the USA 2 years in a row.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And then they laid off everybody in the whole university, destroyed the whole university in one fell swoop. And then they had rehired some people, but you see what happens. In my book, Dr. Nassar would know, I talk about teamwork. All right, teamwork takes time to build. When you put a whole bunch of new people in various positions after a mass layoff, the whole university is shot. There's no teamwork. Nobody is working together anymore, because people are wondering who's going to get laid off next. So what is happening now? They're on all kinds of losing more money. So now they lay off more people, which is, again, crazy. They don't realize that a professor is not an expense. The expense is higher above the professor. Okay, we're the ones that generate the revenue. Students don't come for administrators, they come for us. So you have to build, but you cannot do anything about that. You see, we can control our actions. We cannot control the actions of the executives. So I have no control over what a president of a university does or people above me, right? I have zero control over their actions, but I can control my actions, right?
Yes.
And that is what a personal brand gives you. It gives you that power because organizational executives have power over you to determine whether they're going to lay you off or keep you, right? How do you counter that power? The only way to counter that power is through the power of your personal brand, which gives you the independence and the voice and basically says, or if your boss is going to tell you to do unethical things or illegal things, if you don't have a strong personal brand, you're not going to be able to say no because you're going to be worried about putting food on the table. I never had to worry about that. I have had a situation where my boss told me to do something that would damage the organization. It was at a nuclear power plant. But I was empowered to say no. Nuclear power plant also had protections. If I say no and I am proved right that what my boss asked me to do would be bad for the plant, my boss could not fire me. As a matter of fact, I faced that situation and I said no to my boss. My boss was going to fire me, but luckily they had the protection. My boss could not fire me alone. There was a tribunal. And guess what? My boss lost and he was fired.
He was fired, yeah,
Yes.
instead.
But you see, in many organizations, that's not going to happen. If
No,
I,
that's going to happen in many organizations, exactly.
but it should, you see, a person should never be fired if that person stood up and protected the organization from danger. But it doesn't happen that way. The personal brand gives you. So over there, my personal brand was, I was like, there was another time that I walked away from another job where I knew they were going to have a breach and they were not letting me do the right thing. So I told my wife, I said, this is what is going on. If I stay here, my name is going to be ruined. My good name and brand is going to be ruined because once you're associated with the reach, they're going to say, well, you were the CIO, but nobody's going to see that my boss wasn't letting me do the right thing. Right? So that is why you need that brand and the ability to manage your career risks. And the brand and the multiple sources of income, multiple talents. I mean, think about it. If you're a musician, why don't you earn some money with music also? If you're a public speaker, why don't you earn some money with public speaking also? If you're a writer, a professor, why don't you earn some money through some writing? You see, all these things that people can do to produce income, that reduces your risk. I was a real estate agent for 10 years. Used to produce 1/3 of my income. And when I got laid off the first time, organization went out of business, guess what? I had my real estate business. So I've always had that career risk management. And what it did
Yeah,
was also expand me in a multiple directions. So part of the marketing that I learned was during my time as a real estate agent. So this
yeah.
is what I would.
So
So you must read this second book and definitely come to the conference on February 12th.
yeah, I would definitely be in. Yeah, and it's clear that we have to develop a lot of soft skills and make sure that we make good use of them, especially towards reducing the risk
Mm-hmm.
towards
Yes,
using the
absolutely. Yes. The key thing is also, so this is another term people say, soft skills. Don't use that term. Use the term foundational skills. Remember, that's your foundation.
Thank you so
All
much.
these other things that you're doing, the leadership, the teamwork, people skills, communication skills, these are your fundamental foundational skills. If you don't have that, you cannot do anything. These are not soft skills. So the right
Yeah,
terminology is also very important.
I agree with you. The way, I mean, after explaining that way, I agree with you.
Yeah. These are what makes you a human being and a good professional. So one of the other foundational skills or whatever you need to have is ethics and integrity. What you say has to be true. Because as a leader, as a cybersecurity professional, If I'm lying to my people, they're going to make decisions based on those lies. That's going to destroy the company. You see? So my word has to have value. If I tell somebody there's a problem, that person must be able to trust me that I'm saying this is a problem. Right? Because our word is used to make decisions. Our data, our information is used to make decisions. That is what CIA is for, right? Integrity of the information, confidentiality, availability, all these things, right? So
Yeah,
nuclear power plant could be destroyed if I don't have honesty, if I don't have integrity.
integrity. Yeah.
So these are foundational skills. I mean, they're not soft. But absolutely wonderful that you came and asked those very, very important questions. And now I'm going to close the recording and then we can go into the networking portion.
Thank you so much.